Even in this sweltering heat, people are still very eager to get their tickets for the first day of sales for the Boone County Fair. Here in downtown Rockford, 4 churches have come together to serve the community in a way that's both beautiful and tasty, too.
This is WTDO Channel 17 News at 5.
Good evening, I'm Lauren Scott. Thank you for joining us. 4 people are sent to the hospital after a serious car accident on I-90. The 2-car accident happened shortly after 1 p.m. on I-90 East at Genoa Road in Boone County. 2 cars were in a ditch area when one caught fire. The person in critical condition was taken away by helicopter, while the 3 others were left in the ambulance with non-life-threatening injuries. Clothing was scattered across the scene. At one point, both east and westbound lanes were blocked, bringing cars to a standstill. The latest report from Illinois State Police says the roadways are now open and the crash is still under investigation. A pizza delivery robber robbed while dropping off food. It happened in the 3800 block of 15th Avenue in Rockford. The Villa Romer driver rounded the corner of an apartment building. That's where the suspect was holding a silver semi-automatic handgun. The man holding the gun demanded the driver's money. Police continue to search the area for the suspect, a 6-foot-tall male with a skinny build wearing a black mask, all black clothing, and red and white gloves. He was last seen running southbound from the scene. If you have any information, you're encouraged to call the police. Dozens of Sensata Technology employees rally at community meetings to save jobs. There are more than 170 workers who face losing their jobs at the Bain Capital-owned plant in Freeport. This because of Bain Capital's decision to outsource jobs to China. Sensata manufactures sensors, controls for major auto groups such as Ford and General Motors. U.S. Representatives Don Mazzullo and Bob Schilling urged the CEO of the Massachusetts-based company to abandon its plans to offshore production to Asia. It's something that the employees hope gain attention.
To see everybody in the community stand and take a stand for save our jobs, save every job.
We need to stand up and we need to voice our opinions and we need to let corporate America know that this is not going to keep going on.
Today's meeting had a good turnout and support from the community. Sensata management has yet to respond to any of the demonstrations. Organizers will hold another protest and rally outside of the Sensata plant in Freeport tomorrow from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Moving away from home, an historic day in Libya. After 40 years of Muammar Gaddafi's rule, people are voting in the country's first free election. After 4 decades of political exclusion, Libyans flocked to the polls today. Voters are choosing a 200-seat National Assembly that will be responsible for appointing a transitional government. If you are among the 115 million Americans burning for relief from the heat wave, you're about to get some help from Mother Nature. She will dial down the thermostat starting tomorrow, although there was a slight taste of lower temperatures today. At least 35 deaths have been blamed on the torrid climate, which set many records for high heat. ABC's Richard Cantu reports.
Finally, the heat wave is beginning to ebb. From this,
It's horrible.
Raging floodwaters that tore through the streets of southern Russia in the middle of the night are responsible for killing at least 150 people and displacing thousands. The toll may still climb as authorities search for at least 2 people who are unaccounted for. The floodwaters followed heavy rains that began Friday, pushing rivers and streams over their banks throughout the night. The fierce floodwaters destroyed homes and carried trucks out to sea. A piece of Chicago's history now gone. Workers removed WGN's analog television antenna from atop the Willis Tower. You might know it better as the Sears Tower. The 4,000-pound antenna was installed in 1982, and many of the workers who took it down today say they were there at the beginning. This antenna hasn't been used since TV signals went digital a few years ago. A new antenna for digital signals will be installed soon. Coming up after the break, hot weather now causing deaths all over the country. Details ahead. Plus, Eric will have a look at your complete weather forecast. Experimental airplanes are built from a kit or from scratch in the owner's garage. They are known for their flashy designs and wild colors, but the inner workings of these machines remain a mystery to most. President of the local Experimental Aircraft Association chapter, Lee Hilbert, grew up with aviation and flies recreationally once or twice a week. Hilbert adds that he has a very special place in his heart for experimental airplanes.
But the Experimental Aircraft Association was originally started to assist and bring some standards, if you will, for doing modifying and essentially experimenting with airplanes.
Experimental airplanes are the hobby for many flight enthusiasts around the world, but with the recent plane crash, the safety of these planes are now being brought into question. Hilbert explains that a lot of factors could have contributed to the unfortunate plane crash in the Monroe Center. In fact, experimental airplane pilots have many requirements to fulfill before the plane ever takes flight.
As private pilots, we go through extensive training, far more than anybody goes through to even get a commercial driver's license.
Tom Janusevec, airport manager at the Poplar Grove Airport, has been flying since the 1970s and loves the challenge of aviation. Janusevec believes that flying experimental airplanes should be safe if the pilot is responsible.
You're only as safe as you feel like you want to. If you want to cut corners, you get up in the air, you just don't pull over to the side of the road and fix it.
All experimental aircraft must first be inspected thoroughly by the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA and the National Transportation Board reports experimental airplanes have an accident rate less than 1% higher than the general aviation fleet. From WTVO, this is Lauren Scott.